Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. In today's video, I am here to announce a very special, big read-along project that I've been wanting to do for years, and I finally decided to pull the trigger on it, so to speak. This is an official announcement video for what I'm calling the Maas Effect Readalong, where we will be reading through all of Sarah J Maas's books in 2024 and 2025. Stay tuned for details. If you've been following this channel for a while, you probably know that I am a longtime reader of Sarah J Maas's books. And while I wouldn't call myself a super fan by any means, I think that there are valid criticisms to be made, especially of her earlier work. She is not everybody's cup of tea. The way that she writes doesn't work for everyone. But for me, it has always been really fun, almost like popcorn type read, and that is the role that her books have often played for me. Although occasionally there's something a little bit different, where there have been cases of books that I've found to be deeply moving. So as somebody who's been reading her books for, I would say, probably more than a decade at this point, or going on a decade at the very least. I don't know exactly when I started reading her, but it's been a while. It was early on in the Throne of Glass series getting published. I've always wanted to go back and do a thorough reread of her books. I actually have not reread almost any of her books. I've read everything that she's written, but I think the only book that I've reread is House of Earth and Blood, the first Crescent City book. I know I read that twice. I might have read A Court of Thorns and Roses twice. I'm not 100% sure, but for the most part, I've read these once, and it has been years since I picked up the majority of them. And I just feel like it's time, especially with what she is doing now. We are getting a multiverse crossover. I think it would be really fun to go back to the beginning and read everything, discuss the positives, discuss the negatives, discuss the criticisms, and try to pick out the Easter eggs or hints at what she was planning to do, because she's been dropping hints that there might be a multiverse type thing going on for years in many of her books. And so I'm really excited about this project. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. And ironically, this came out of a conversation with my therapist about how I should do things that bring me joy and make content that I'm excited to be making. And so this is what we're doing. I'm going to go over the exact reading order, the plans for the read along, the content I'm going to be making around it. But first, let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Joining me on this year-and-a-half long journey of reading all the Sarah J Maas books, we have Izzy from Happy for Now. This may not come as a huge surprise to some of you. Me and Izzy have talked about Sarah J Maas books on the podcast we used to do together and things like that. So she was definitely like, yes, I'm on board. This sounds like fun. Her and I have discussed possibly doing this at some point anyway. So Izzy's going to be joining me. We also have Alexa from Alexa Loves Books. If you haven't checked her out, definitely go do so. She reads a lot of romance, a lot of fantasy, kind of a wide range of things, and is a fellow New Yorker. Next, we have Ingrid from Ingrid Reads a Lot. She also reads pretty heavily in fantasy, but reads other things as well. And she is a nurse as her day job, so go check her out if you don't follow her already. And then finally, we have Jess from the Hexed Library. Jess reads YA, reads a lot of fantasy, a lot of witchy books, and is also a writer. So she does quite a bit of AuthorTube content in addition to BookTube content. I know there were a couple of other people who were on the fence and may pop in here and there, and it's possible throughout this time period that not everyone will be able to make every month. Some people may join at some point, but for now, these are my 4 co-hosts. Thank you so much to all of them for agreeing to join me on this journey. I am really excited. So here's the plan for the read along. There's a specific reading order that I have in mind. We are starting in March with Throne of Glass. So that is going to be the first book. It is kind of publication order with some modifications, and I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of it. If you don't want to hear all the reasons for the reading order being what it is, totally understand that. Just know that we are going to be starting with Throne of Glass, and the live show for Throne of Glass is going to be Thursday, March 28th on my channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 6 p.m. Pacific Time. So join us if you want to do a reread or first time read. If you've maybe wanted wanted to see what the hype is about, want to give Sarah J Maas a try, this might be a good opportunity for you. Or if you want to revisit her books along with us, we'll be talking Throne of Glass on the 28th. I'm also intending to do some more in-depth spoilery videos for each book because I think that would be fun. It would be an interesting way to kind of track, okay, what do I like, what holds up, what doesn't hold up, what are the things that I think are interesting that are sort of Easter eggs or puzzle pieces leading up to eventually where we're going to get. So you can expect some of that more in-depth content from me as well. I know Izzy said she's planning on doing some exclusive reading vlogs for her patrons, which should be fun. I may think about, I might like kind of get a sense of whether my patrons and channel members would be interested in exclusive content around this, but we'll see. But you can expect a live show every month and some kind of a more in-depth discussion spoiler video each month. So I think that'll be interesting. And those will all get added to what is now my Sarah J Maas playlist because I already have quite a number of reading vlogs for books that have come out since I started BookTube. So this is just going to get added to that. But if you're wondering, what are we going to be reading? What's the reading order? Let's go ahead and dive into it. I have a graphic that will go on Instagram once this video is posted or maybe right before, but this is going to show you the plan. We're reading about a book a month with a couple of exceptions. And like I said, a lot of this is publication order, but not totally. So we're beginning in March with Throne of Glass and then continuing through June with more of the Throne of Glass series. So we're doing Crown of Midnight in April, Assassin's Blade in May, and then Heir of Fire in June. The reason Assassin's Blade is going before Heir of Fire is this is now Sarah's preferred reading order for the Throne of Glass series. So that is where we're putting that. We're gonna do it that way. If you want to read them in a different order and just join us for the live shows, you are more than welcome to do it because I know people have strong feelings about the reading order. So do what makes sense for you, but that is the planned reading order officially. Then in July, we'll be reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, starting off that series. August will be Queen of Shadows. September is A Court of Mist and Fury. Then we're going to switch out of publication order a little bit for a couple of specific reasons. One is that I am still salty about the fact that A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is a holiday book, came out in May. I think it should be read closer to Christmas time. So we're doing that. And the other reason for this is I want to do a tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, which take place at the same time. So we're going to be doing that as well. So what that means is September is A Court of Mist and Fury. October is A Court of Wings and Ruin. November is A Court of Frost and Starlight. We'll take a break for December. Everybody's crazy busy at the end of the year anyway, holidays, family obligations, etc. And then we'll pick back up in January. January, February 2025 is going to be a 2-month-long tandem read, because these books are not short, of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. If you're wondering what is a tandem read, how is this going to work, you do not have to do the tandem read. If you want to just read them separately, you're welcome to do that. But I think it's kind of a cool way to do it. There is a chapter by chapter breakdown that was originally, I think, developed by Jenna Cleric. I will have it available on my Instagram. There will be a slide with the chapter breakdown, and if you're following along specifically the reading order for January and for February, but you'll be switching back and forth reading chapters from one book, chapters from the other, so that you're reading it relatively chronologically, and then by the end of the 2 months we'll have read the 2 books. So what that does mean is that we probably will not have a live show in January, we'll just have one in February instead for those 2 books together, which honestly is not a bad thing because January is always jam-packed anyway with all the end of year content, so I'm not mad about that. Then March will complete the Throne of Glass series with Kingdom of Ash, and then April is actually going to be reading Catwoman Soulstealer. Yes, that's right. Sarah did write a Catwoman book, and it was pretty good. I've read it before. I really liked it, and we are reading all of her books. So we're going to be picking that one up in April of 2025. Then in May, we're starting the Crescent City series. So May will be House of Earth and Blood. June will be Court of Silver Flames, which will get us up to date on the ACOTAR series. July is House of Sky and Breath. August is House of Flame and Shadow. And then in September, if we are lucky enough to have another book from Sarah by then, which I am hopeful for, we'll see. But if we have another book from her by then, we will read that in September of 2025. So that is the planned reading order for the Maas Effect Readalong, and I would love to see you all join in with us. I think it's going to be really fun. I am creating a Discord server specifically for this read-along, so if you want to join in, I will have different channels where people can do spoiler and non-spoiler discussions of the books as we read them and keep up to date on what's happening next if you kind of forget the reading order. The link is down below if you want to join us there. I am super excited about this. I have Throne of Glass ready to read for March. I will be doing an in-depth video on this, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how well this holds up, because again, it has been years since I read this, but I really enjoyed it. I loved it the first time I read it. I've heard a lot of criticism since then, some of which I think is definitely valid, but we are going to get into all of it, and I hope you will join us on the adventure. Talk to me in the comments down below and let me know if you plan to join in on any of the read-along. I think it's going to be fun, whether you are a longtime fan of Sarah J Maas, whether you have a love-hate relationship with her because you have mixed feelings about her books, whether you have been curious to try her for a long time and you're like, what's the hype about? I want to see what it is. Join us. It'll be fun. I do think that she is kind of like a gateway drug to fantasy for a lot of people because her books are pretty accessible and easy to read and can be a good entry point for people who feel a little intimidated by the genre. I know the books look long, but they're usually actually not that hard to get through. So talk to me in the comments down below. Join me for the Maas Effect read-along. And I did check. I didn't see that anybody had used that name for a read-along for her before. And I thought it was fun because, you know, the video game. Anyway. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, it always helps if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.